Now that the Mavericks have officially denied the Knicks permission to talk to Jason Kidd, what's next for the Mavericks head coach and the franchise? We'll discuss that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on this Wednesday afternoon. The Mavericks have officially denied permission to the Knicks to talk to Jason Kidd. What's next for the head coach and the franchise just 2 weeks away from the NBA draft? Plus, we'll be joined by NBA draft expert and consultant Rafael Barlowe coming up here shortly on the DLLS Mavs podcast to talk all things Cooper Flagg, the NBA draft, and what he's hearing as we approach NBA free agency in the offseason.
So the chair's not open just as a memorial for Bobby?
No, it's not.
Who hasn't perished, by the way.
That's right.
Maybe spiritually, emotionally, but physically he's fine.
Yes, he's just fine.
Yeah.
But he'll be... You already did your show, Clarence. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. We'll see for how long. We appreciate all of you hanging out with us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Make sure you search out the podcast and give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there on this Wednesday afternoon. Tim Cato, how we feeling?
Feeling lovely. Feeling good. It's going to be our best show of the week.
Our best show of the week.
Yeah, no Bobby.
Oh, got it. I figured.
Yeah.
And Tanner can talk on the mic, too. Isn't that right, Tanner?
I can.
You can. So shout out to our guy, Tanner, always making us look good and sound good as always. Our guy, Mark Stein, will be back with us tomorrow, and he's going to be bringing a special guest along with him as well. But let's jump into it as the Mavericks have officially denied permission to the New York Knicks to talk to Jason Kidd, as our very own Mark Stein, Tanner, reported first this morning as you woke up and you saw the news. The statement from our very own Mark Stein saying, quote, the Knicks have now formally requested permission to speak to Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd, and the request was denied by Dallas, league sources tell the Stein Line and DLLS Sports. So, Tim Cato, is it over?
I sure believe so, and I sure hope so. It's this what a fun, funky little situation this has been. Here we go.
As our guest joins us here, Rafael Barlowe.
A new and improved Bobby. We've been in the lab upgrading.
And he brought Wings merch too. Brought some Wings merch with him too, man.
It's DLS, so you gotta represent the.
You gotta represent.
Yeah.
So, yes, and this is always where I thought it would end up because Jason Kidd is under contract, and ultimately the Mavericks could say no. There is something to the fact they didn't. There's something. I've heard 2 or 3 different explanations of, what exactly was going on, who was behind it, who was pushing for it. But at the end of the day, it came down to 2 different people having to be okay with this. Nico Harrison had to allow the interview to happen, but so did Patrick Dumont. And that's 2 levels of, just authority and authorization that ultimately each of these people, I don't think Patrick Dumont is too happy. This has been the story leading up to the Cooper Flagg draft. Why would he be? Right?
Yeah.
Like, this has been such a messy situation. And so for it to, I think this is it. I think that this is finally pretty clear. Like I said, I think that if it had gotten to the point that the Knicks were interviewing Jason Kidd, a person they don't need to interview, they don't need to ask him, what's your philosophy on coaching basketball? They've got all the game tape on that. Clearly this isn't an open search where they're looking for the best ideas. They were seeking out very specifically Jason Kidd as a head coach. Certainly seems like, there's some other names floating around, but they're seeking out these established head coaches and they liked Jason Kidd. They've liked him dating back to even 2020. And so if it had got to the point that the Knicks requested and asked and it was accepted, then Jason Kidd was going to be the head coach of the Knicks. For this to drag out this whole time, I really don't think it was as simple as, just the the Mavericks not getting ahead of this or something like that. I think there is some level of negotiation or questioning or thought or conversation happening about this whole situation. But yeah, I think we're finally at a standstill here, even though, as I'm sure, as you've seen, Kevin, as you've pointed out, certainly some Knicks reporters still indicating, oh, this might not be over. I think we're settled, but yeah.
Yeah, there's multiple reports coming from the New York side of things that this may not necessarily be over. Take that for what you will. As we welcome in our guest, Rafael Barlowe, here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. I'm interested in your take on this whole situation as well. Our guy Mark Stein had reported last week that the Knicks were interested in hiring Jason Kidd. It's been a week plus now since that report was made, and now the Mavericks officially denying the request from the Knicks to talk to Jason Kidd. What has been your thoughts about how all this has gone down over the last week or so in your mind?
Well, first of all, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man.
Mavs games.
Yeah.
Season has been over for a little while, so it's good to see you guys. I really don't know. It's just like, why wasn't it denied immediately? You saw it with Houston, it was just flat out no. I have no idea what to think about it, and I get it from multiple angles, but I just wonder why wasn't it shut down immediately?
Yeah, because the Rockets did that pretty much off jump when the report initially came out from Mark Stein. The Rockets said even if the Knicks tried to call us, we're going to deny the request, and it was reported last night through several reports that both the Rockets and the Timberwolves were called by the New York Knicks, and they were promptly both denied by those two teams. The Knicks trying to talk to Chris Finch, who, of course, led the Minnesota Timberwolves to the Western Conference Finals for the second year in a row, and, of course, Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Houston Rockets, who led the Rockets to the 2 seed this year. Both of those teams saying, you're not talking to our head coach here in Houston and Minnesota. So as we spin this forward now, the Mavericks are going to be hosting Cooper Flagg next week. In fact, a week from yesterday. We're 2 weeks away from the NBA draft. Does Kidd potentially seek more in terms of a contract extension? What's next in your mind based off of now the Mavericks officially denying this request in your mind?
I mean, there's no, they don't need to do that. They don't. There's no scenario where they need to end up, tossing, extending whatever the situation is. I do think that they're going to have some work to do to fill out this coaching staff, which may not yet be that all may not be settled. But when it comes to Jason Kidd, I don't know. I am still working through, this has been just a very strange.
It's been bizarre.
It's been very bizarre.
That's the word I would use, is bizarre, for the last week or so. Because
is it weird for Dallas or New York? Because you would think this team made it to the conference finals. They fired their coach right away and don't have a plan. Like, their targets are guys that are under contract. To me, that's even more weird.
Yeah, because if you're the Knicks, I would imagine if you fire Tom Thibodeau, you would have someone in mind immediately. And maybe they did have someone in mind. He just happened to be on the contract for the next 2 years here in Dallas. And, oh, by the way, wasn't going to get necessarily permission to talk to him. Because now if you're the Knicks, what do you do in terms of your head coaching search going forward? Because there are a lot of qualified names out there, whether it be a Taylor Jenkins or a Michael Malone or others that could be head coach of this team. But at least for now, the Knicks, who have been denied by 3 teams, now kind of have to start a search anew when it comes to this job. So if you're the Knicks, I don't know where they go, because this is obviously not something that I'm sure that they planned on based off of what they did in terms of firing Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, but the head coaching market, like the free agency pool, if you will, of head coaches, of veteran head coaches, is so robust right now that I don't think the Knicks are in a bad spot at all. And
it's like me moving out of my house and I want to buy your house, but you haven't put it up for sale. And I'm like out on the streets.
It's been super weird, but I think the Knicks are, they've always known that there's fallback plans. But I still think it's telling that out of all the names that have been mentioned, all the, head coaches under contract, that this is the one that spun out, that went on longest.
And now here we are. And for the Mavericks, they now have their head coach completely intact as far as that is going forward here. And now because it gets to look forward to 2 weeks from now when the NBA draft happens, where the Mavericks presumably are going to be taking Cooper Flagg #1 overall. We're going to get into a lot of things Cooper Flagg throughout the course of our show. Plus, a little bit later on, we'll preview the NBA Finals. As Game 3 of the NBA Finals is tonight between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, with the Pacers having been able to win Game 1 on the road, the Oklahoma City Thunder being able to win Game 2 to even up that series. Game 3 is later on this evening. Just your final thoughts before we get to some of the stuff on Cooper Flagg, on just kind of the end of the season and the Mavericks now going forward here, Rafael, for you, now that they're going to be having Cooper Flagg in next week, and what this starts to look like going forward now that it seems like the head coaching portion of this is settled now.
It's a big win. I mean, obviously, it was a big win when Dallas won the lottery with a 1.8% chance. I think it's big for the fan base and even the security of the front office. My question is, man, what happens if, God forbid, AD gets off to a slow start and then the team is struggling? I mean, the whispers are, everything that was going on gets even louder. So I think adding a guy like Cooper Flagg, it's like a sigh of relief, even on the business side, because a lot of the people that said they weren't buying tickets, they renewed their season tickets.
Yeah. And now they have a chance to see the future when it comes to Cooper Flagg, presumably, of course, in a couple of weeks when he's drafted. Because, I was talking to somebody this last night, like the emotions of what's happened over the last 4 months, the trade itself, and then obviously the end of the season, and then you get to the draft lottery and the Mavericks winning the lottery. I don't think a lot of fans have been able to properly process their feelings and emotions, because everything has kind of been hitting one thing after another, that if the lottery had happened maybe 3 or 4 months further down the road, I think Mavericks maybe have a little bit more chance to kind of process their emotions. But to me, it feels like it's just been a wave of emotions, positively and negatively, over the last 4 months, and now getting ready to culminate in the draft in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, there's that one tweet that's like, I'm tired of living in unprecedented times.
Sure.
Just like, can I hurry up and live in precedented times again?
Yes.
It really is a situation where every single, like, the Mavericks have wedged and wormed and chose and decided and acted and to be at the front of the news cycle just over and over and over again. Like the Mavericks have to be, the most, like, they are the most talked about sports team since the year began. And it's just wild. It's just like there's one new thing after another, one after another. And so I think as an organization, it's very clear, their desire is to, just push forward, and that Cooper should be the talking point.
Yeah.
And they're right. They should be. After everything that has been said about the Dallas Mavericks over the past months, this is the one easy win. This is the one very simple thing you can do where it's like, oh, we have a chance to snag a generational prospect, and
yes.
Should we have had that chance? The odds said it was very slim, but you win that. Oh, what are you going to do? Generational prospect? He's just hanging out here? Yeah. I mean, this is the easiest situation that, for a franchise that was just begging for something easy, for something that the messaging was simple on, that the narrative was pretty clearly just, Cooper is awesome, and now he's going to be a Dallas Maverick. This has been exactly what the team, they never could have expected this. But yeah, just awesome situation for Dallas. And we'll see as this week goes on, 2 weeks away from draft day. But I think that we're at least settled in terms of, the coach. And it's weird to talk for a week about how that wasn't possibly the case.
It was a hell of a lot of content for a week. That's for damn sure. When it came to this whole Jason Kidd saga, but at the same time, now 2 weeks away from the NBA draft, the focus can hopefully be squarely upon the #1 pick in the NBA draft and a generational talent in one Cooper Flagg, which we're going to talk to our NBA draft expert and consultant. Hosting with us today, Rafael Barlowe, coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. What is it about Cooper Flagg that makes him so damn good? We're going to ask Rafael that and more coming next year on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. But first, I want to put some money in your pocket when it comes to Cash App. Cash App is a safe, easy, and fast way to send, receive, and transfer money to friends and family. It's easy to set up. Just enter your phone or email, and there's no bank account needed when it comes to Cash App. It's your money. You shouldn't have to wait around to get it. And Cash App offers a safe and secure and easy way to be able to get your money. If you're about to send your money to a scam, Cash App alerts you if that is going to be happening, so you don't send your money to a place where you don't necessarily want it to go. With Cash App, for a limited time, only new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash, and there's no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code DLLS Mavs in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Again, $10 dropped right into your account when you send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Remember, terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App.
Mando is here. Make sure that you're smelling good. It's a men's deodorant brand, and it's focused on every part of your body. And yes, I mean the pits, the belly button, the balls, the butt crack, the grundle. If you don't know what that is, that means it probably stinks. That means that you are in desperate need of Mando right now. And you know what? I've got just the offer for you. With Mando, they've got whole body deodorant created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. So Mando's starter pack is the perfect for new customers. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get a $5 off the starter pack with an exclusive code that equates to 40% off your starter pack. Use code DLLS at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support the show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Yes, Jordy, Tim is allowed to say those things. Like, he's actually encouraged to say those things in that particular read. But appreciate your thoughts and concern. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast today, as we are just 2 weeks away from the NBA draft. And it is a fantastic time of the year for our guest who's joining us here today. Of course, NBA draft expert and consultant, host of NBA Big Board, Rafael Barlowe, hanging out with us here on the show today. I can only imagine, Rafael, this time for you, is it more relief now that the draft is actually about to happen, or is it more so, no, I'm already starting on 2026, draft prospects and getting ready for next year's draft as the 2025 draft comes?
Well, I'm just shocked to be here. Like, if you would have told me a year ago that I would be here talking about the Mavs having a lottery pick, I would have said, what happened? Like, yes. What happened? So I'm actually shocked that the Mavs are in this position, and then even more shocked that they have the number 1 pick. But I am ready for this draft cycle to end. I'm ready for draft day. I haven't started on 2026 just yet.
Okay.
But it's still a lot of news and moving parts for 2025.
Cooper Flagg is the best collegiate draft prospect. Oh my goodness!
Mm-hmm.
It's talking about Mando and smelling good, and I'm all mixed up. I'm all messed up. He's the best collegiate prospect since who, in your mind?
I mean, what was it? 4 years ago, we said the same thing about Zion Williamson. Even though when you look at Cooper's numbers, he led Duke in nearly every major statistical category. But I mean, it's every year, every couple of years. Just 2 years ago, it said Victor Wembanyama was the best prospect since whoever. But I do think that Flagg is definitely in that range. When I think of like the best college prospects in recent years, you think of Durant, Michael Beasley, obviously Carmelo won a championship. I thought Zion was pretty impressive, but I think Cooper Flagg is in that same tier.
Yeah, I've been saying Zion and Anthony Davis, yeah. And there's a lot. To me, I am not grinding college tape. I'm now watching Cooper Flagg, but I'm not a draft guy, and that's not my it's not my lane. It's not been something that I'm going to leave it to people who are very good at it, like you. But when I do a quick look, and I am an analytics guy. I look up analytics and stuff like that. Like box score plus minus. He's one of 3 players to hit 15 with that as a freshman. The other two being Zion and Anthony Davis. Stuff like that stands out to me. Just all the box score tracking. I'm actually curious, like, what is your approach to scouting? What is your approach to taking a prospect, looking at him? Obviously everybody, just because I'm bringing up stats, that's not all encompassing. It doesn't like fully explain everything. But yeah, when you're just looking at a prospect, and you're like, not only how good is this guy, but how good is he going to be in the NBA? What does he fit into? What role? How does he morph into, going from best player on his team? And that's the craziest thing. It's like all these guys are the best players on their team. At least going back to high school, they're the best players on their team. And then you're trying to like, mold them into, maybe the 9th best player. How do you start that process? What do you value?
So I'm an eye test guy first. I watch the film or watch a guy in person, and then I'll take notes. And then I'll go back, and if I have access to the analytics, I'll see if what I'm seeing with my eye matches up with the numbers. And one of the things with Cooper Flagg is, like, I don't need any numbers or analytics to like him, just because the analytics don't always show if a guy is competitive, if he's tough, if he's a dog, if he wants the ball. And even earlier in the year when Duke gave Flagg some opportunities to hit game-winning shots, and he came up short, the fact that he wanted the ball, and he was only 17 at the time, that's something that the numbers and the analytics aren't going to tell me. So Cooper Flagg, he hits on both. Like, he's a guy that passes the eye test, whether it's just athleticism or competitive fire. But then if you look at the numbers, he just fills up the stat sheet in multiple ways.
When you look at not just the player himself, but also the intangibles, a lot of folks talk about his motor and his competitiveness. When you've watched and evaluated him, what made him special as a player that maybe we don't see on the floor in terms of like his actual skill set? What makes him special as a prospect with the intangibles, if you will, when it comes to him as a player?
The first thing that comes to mind is how much better he's gotten over the years. And of course, you expect natural progression. But when I first saw him play, I thought of him as like, oh man, he's going to be a really good play finisher and connective passer. So when he was 15 and he was on Team USA, I was like, this guy is going to be a modern day Kenyon Martin. That's not a knock on Kmart. Kmart was the #1 pick, and he had a really good senior year at Cincinnati before he got hurt. But then as time has gone on, I'm like, all right, he's spacing the floor now. All right, he's handling the ball. He's not only a connective passer, he can run pick and rolls. So with Flagg, it's just the natural progression on top of him adding something new to his game every summer. And I'll be honest, he exceeded my expectations. He shot 38.5% from three, and that was not on my bingo card coming into the year. And I had him #1, but I didn't think he would be as good as he was, and I was high on him.
Yeah, he's always challenged himself. Yep. That's the one thing that I have been learning about Cooper is that it's always he's always pushed to go to the next level of competition. Yep. From high school to leveling up, and where was he? St. Bonaventure. What's the high school?
Montverde.
Montverde
Academy.
Did I just say Woj's?
Yeah, you said Woj's College, St. Bonaventure. That's right.
Again, not a draft guy, but yeah. He goes to Montverde, and we know Montverde as like just this pipeline. It's a pipeline. It's exactly that. And he was doing that because he was too good. He was too good in Maine. Like he was looking around Maine and being like, all right, I am the only 6'8" person in the state of Maine. All right, let's level up. Let's go to the next one. Reclassified. To go to Duke a year early. He's on all these Team USA camps, and then he gets invited. That's when I think Cooper Flagg mania like really, really exploded. Was last summer when he shows up with the select team, and he's is he the only college player invited? If you recall.
Yeah.
And it's the NBA players, not just the NBA players, but the NBA stars, the Team USA stars are the people saying that guy's good. Yeah, that guy's he's got it. Like he's gonna be a real one. And that I think everything I hear about Cooper is reflected in that constant churning desire, like upwards momentum that he's had to always be challenging himself, always trying to be better and get better, and then all along the way he does keep getting better at all those stops.
One of the things that's been so underrated in his development was his last year of playing grassroots basketball. He chose to play 16U. And I remember the people that were critical of him, like, why isn't he playing 17U? Because all the top high school players play 17U. Well, he decided to stay and play with his friends from Maine. His mom coached the team. So he played 16U. He was by far the best player on the floor every night. But with that team, he had to do everything. It was like he literally worked on his point guard skills with live defenses. It wasn't like he was working on it in drills and with cones and an empty gym. It was like, I'm going to use this group. I'm going to play with my buddies. This is probably my last year. I'm going to play with my buddies from Maine. But I'm going to get better. His brother.
Yeah.
His mom was a coach. But I'm going to get better because I'm going to play a position that I've never had to play before. So he was the point guard. He was the center. He played every position. And it put him in a situation where he had to work on his ball handling. And I think all of that came together his freshman year at Duke, where when you start seeing him add to his game, I think a lot of that came because he spent his entire season, his entire summer, as like a guy that played out of position to push himself.
When you look at his overall game, there'll be a lot of comparisons to a lot of top flight stars, obviously. What is his ceiling as a player, or what is the best, player comp that you have for him, given the skill set that he has, that you say, 5-10 years down the road, he could be this type of player?
That's actually a tough question because, like I said, when I first saw him, I thought modern day Kmart. And then it's some shades of Kawhi Leonard. And of course, I think like the Andre Karolinko comparisons, of course you would like that on the defensive end. I think some of those are lazy, but I actually kind of like the cross-racial comparisons because it really makes you think. We shouldn't just compare white players to white players, international players to international players. And I think Flagg is like one of the guys that makes you really think outside of the box with your comparisons. I've seen Kevin Garnett. I've seen people compare him to Jason Tatum. I mean, the range is wide. And it's like sometimes there's players that, all right, if you see Garnett and if you see Tatum, those guys don't even play alike.
That's true.
So with Flagg, it's kind of like, it's like gumbo. It's like a mix of quite a few players.
And
Man,
gumbo's good too. So
I feel really stupid. I was about, Rafael, I was about to ask you, like, do you see any TJ McConnell or Dalton Connect and Cooper Flagg?
You got a little SGA in him.
Is he kind of like a John Lure type? Maybe Gal Meckel.
You going
so
cuts.
clearly, I'm just gonna kind of back away from that. Yeah.
When you look at also, we've talked about a lot about his skill set, a lot about his intangibles. One of the things I'm really curious about is when you look at now the projection of what he fits in with the Dallas Mavericks going forward, what do you see in terms of an area of his game that he could work on and something that he has right away that he could step into this team and say from day one he can do this, but also as a player he can improve on this to help this team going forward?
Yeah, I'll start on the defensive end. I mean, you have all the tools that you need to be a successful defender in the NBA. He's athletic. He's competitive. He wants to defend. Like, he really wants to go out and defend. He's tough. And I don't know if I can, like, just continue to reiterate that. He was 17 when the season started. Mm-hmm. He was 17 when he was on Team USA. So just think in your natural mind, when I was 17, if I were playing against Michael Jordan, I probably would have been nervous. I would have been scared. And from everything I read, he was going at those guys like, I belong. So with that being said, on the defensive end, he's going to make an impact right away. Like I said, he's able to switch and defend, and he's tough and competitive. Those are everything you look for. Offensively, if the shooting numbers are real, which I believe they are just based off of his projection, he's going to be able to provide outside shooting. Another passer. And as we all know, towards the end of the year, I felt like Najee Marshall was the only connective passer the Mavs had on the roster when Kyrie went down. And Flagg would give the Mavs another ball handler and passer, someone that can run pick and rolls. So if you want to play him at the 4 and AD at the 5, I know AD doesn't want to play the 5, but you can run 4-5 pick and rolls. Mm-hmm. You can run 4-5 pick and rolls with him and Lively or Gafford. You can run 3-4 ball screens. I mean, it's just a bunch of different things that he does, and the versatility in the defense should be able to make an impact from day one.
That's the word that I keep hearing and using when describing Cooper Flagg is versatility. Like, he can do a number of things on both the offensive and defensive end that should give a coach like Jason Kidd plenty of options to be able to utilize him with the guys that he's going to be having, around him. I mean, obviously we'll wait for Kyrie Irving when he comes back from his injury, but playing alongside Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, I mean, doesn't get much better than the situation for a rookie to be able to step in to learn from some true all-star and veterans who have been there and won championships to be able to learn what it is to be an NBA player. And he's already got that kind of confidence walking in day one, having gone against Team USA. Real quick before we go to break, because I did want to follow up on what Tim had asked about, the Team USA part of it.
I thought the Gal Meckel part.
No, not that part.
Okay.
What did that do for Cooper in your mind in terms of the way that he competed and played? We heard the comments from LeBron James and some of the others who went up against Cooper Flagg. What do you think that did for him in terms of his overall confidence as a player stepping into it as a rookie this upcoming year?
I think it just made an extremely confident player even more confident. And you have to like that. Like, one, I love irrational confidence guys. I'm just a big fan of guys like that.
Yeah.
And Cooper was always confident. But now I think that experience to where he probably felt like, I can hang with these guys. I think it's going to make his transition as a rookie that much more easier.
That's going to be a lot of fun to watch when Cooper Flagg officially becomes a Dallas Maverick. Just 2 weeks away, we are from the NBA draft. Of course, the NBA draft on June 25th and 26th. We'll have you cover all over for you here on DLLS Mavs. Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, who are some sleepers that we aren't talking about in this NBA draft? Who goes number 2 after Cooper Flagg? We're going to ask our NBA draft expert, Rafael Barlowe, hanging out with us here, coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
What's up, sports fans? Enjoying the game should be easy, so don't overthink it. Now, should be easy. It isn't always as easy as it seems. Don't check the U.S. men's national team score from last night. Not sure why we were playing the MLS All-Stars versus a competent European team. It's the whole thing. I'm not going to get into it. But what I will say is that the best way to enjoy a soccer game and any sports game is with Bud Light. Enjoying the game should be easy. So, think about it. What to wear? You're just going to toss on the lucky jersey. If you don't know what to serve your friends, you're going to pick up the phone, order from the pizza place down the street. That's your favorite. And you don't know what to drink? It's easy. Just grab some Bud Light, stock the fridge. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly, 21 plus. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Let me talk to you about Saturday Neon, started by two college friends. Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs, perfect for your home, office, dorm room, fan cave, or bar. You got their new Essentials collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country, accounting for only $75, including Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. One day they'll make one for Tanner for his Baylor Bears one day at some point. Unlike traditional neon signs, these LED signs won't break or shatter, but still give you that classic uniform glow that you know and love. LEDs lasting up to $100,000. Not $100,000. Wow. 100,000 hours. So you'll be enjoying your sign for years to come. They're the perfect gift for the sports fan in your life when it comes to Saturday Neon. So make sure you head over to SaturdayNeon.com. Use code DLLS for 10% off your favorite sign. Again, that's SaturdayNeon.com. Use code DLLS for 10% off your favorite Saturday Neon sign today. We've got Rafael Barlowe hanging out with us here, host of NBA Big Board, joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. We're going to get to a couple of your super chats while we are here with him as well.
I've got another Cooper question. Say something bad about him. We said too much. We said too many nice things.
So if there's one area of concern, he actually did address a little bit midway through the season. He was very reliant on a spin move. So I think teams started kind of sitting on it. So he would drive. Once they cut him off, he would look to spin, and then the other guard would come and take it. But, I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect player. But that was like the one major concern I had, was that he didn't have enough offensive creativity off the bounce.
He gonna have enough bag for you? He don't have deep enough bag for you these days?
Yeah, that's kind of like the buzzword now. But I always say Kawhi Leonard just knows how to get to his spots. Like, he doesn't have to do a lot of fancy dribbling. He just knows how to get there. And I think Cooper could be similar. But, yeah, that was the concern, was just he was predictable. Yeah. Which, to me, he was a natural 4, growing up. So the adjustment to him having a bigger role on ball, you expect some of those bumps and bruises along the way.
And his handle has improved a lot, compared to what it was. He's got plus passing skills. Like, where do you see his passing? I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like, I was going to say, where do you see his passing top out? But that's not really the question. The question is, like, how often is he going to be creating the advantages and then to use that passing? And, I guess just what have you seen from him? Not just as a passer, but really as a playmaker, as a creator.
I think the upside is, I think the sky's the limit.
Mhm.
I honestly would love to see a situation where he gets some time on the ball, where they play him like they played Najee Marshall at the end of the year. It's a long-term development thing also. Obviously, they want to win now, but with Cooper, you want to develop him and maximize everything. And so if you remember, Kidd played Giannis at point in Milwaukee, and I think that helped Giannis along the way. So I would love to see some minutes where he's like the primary ball handler. Doesn't have to be the whole game, doesn't have to be a whole quarter, but I think that would be big in his development. And then down the line, it's just going to make things a lot easier for his teammates, because you're going to be able to trust him making plays out of ball screens.
Let's get to a couple of super chats we got here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Let's start with Ronald with the $5 super chat. Shout out to Rafael Barlowe. Locked on NBA Big Board is a big reason why I got invested in the draft every year. So shout out to Ronald with the $5 super chat. Appreciate that. Classic Stain Lover with the $1.99 super chat. Rafael's thoughts on Enrique. This ain't the Wings pod. Got a quick thought on Enrique and Gumbawale?
She's a bucket. Yeah, she's that's plain and simple. She's a bucket. She likes to get her own, and I told you I'm a fan.
She like to get her own a little too much.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm a fan of irrational, confident guys and female basketball players. So there's a part of me that really loves her confidence, but then there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if that was the best shot.
I think the latter portion, I think, is something that we've all kind of just come to grow with Enrique in terms of her game. And sometimes it's like, don't take that shot. Oh, okay, you made it. It's that kind of thing.
I mean, everybody loves Monte Ellis too.
Yeah,
that is true. We do love Monte Ellis. Didn't think of it in that way. I do find one thing very interesting about her real quick. She's only shot 40%, better than 40% twice in her career. And she hasn't done it since 2022. Like,
not surprising with the shot selection.
Exactly. It's not surprising necessarily with the shot selection. We are 2 weeks away from the NBA draft. Of course, on June 25th, Cooper Flagg presumably going to go number 1, of course, to the Dallas Mavericks. Who's going to go number 2? Who's going to go number 3? Who are some sleepers that we aren't talking about that could find their way into the top 10? You've obviously done extensive work, Rafael, going into this upcoming draft. I want to start with this one. Who's a player that we're not talking about that could find themselves sneaking into the lottery as a lottery pick?
And why is it Cedric Coward?
Why is it Cedric? All right,
no, you
parts.
can take that wherever you want.
So I definitely want to talk about Cedric. So the guy that I really like, I've actually been accused of being an industry plant because I'm open about how much I like Maxime Reynaud. But if you remember, I was the same way 2 years ago with Derek Lively.
You beat me to it. You were the very first one to say Derek Lively and the Mavericks is a perfect marriage for one another. And of course, we all know how that worked out for him.
I took some heat for it. Actually, one of the local stations here brought me on, and the question was, why is he, or what's the difference between Lively and Moses Brown? So,
oh, wow. Wow.
And I mean, Moses Brown played great for the Mavericks.
Yeah, he did.
But
there's a bit of a difference.
There's a little bit of a difference.
I like Lively, and it's funny because Lively and Maxime Reynaud are the exact opposites in a sense. Lively, the question was, he didn't have the numbers. Why should it be a lottery pick? Because he only averaged, like 5 points a game and so on. Reynaud is totally different. They both play in the same conference. Reynaud's a senior. So I'm trying to paint this picture for you. This guy enters college basketball on a partial scholarship as a freshman, averages 4.5 points per game. And he's not an old senior. He's only 22. By his senior year, he has a historic season where he is second in the ACC in scoring, first in rebounds, just missed leading the ACC in scoring and rebounds by a few points. Then he had the most three-pointers made in the history of college basketball by a 7-footer. He averaged 20 points, 11 rebounds, and made the second most threes in the history of college basketball. Only Lauri Markkanen made more threes as a 7-footer. So I've had him as a first-round pick all year, and most people had him in the 30s, but nobody saw him as a first-round pick. He goes to the combine. He has one strong performance, and then he skyrockets up boards as a first-round pick. So to me, I feel like Maxime Reynaud has been hiding in plain sight, and he actually came here to Dallas. And when Stanford played SMU, it's still weird for me to think of, why is Stanford in the ACC? It's like the Atlantic Coast Conference, and Stanford is like as far west as you can get.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think Maxime Reynaud is a big sleeper that not a lot of people have been talking about. I think he's the most skilled big in the draft. You can give him the ball on the block. He He can finish with his left hand. He can shoot threes, like I mentioned. He can attack closeouts. He can run the floor in transition. He is a guy that he told me he only had 2 lobs all season. And so a lot of his shots were self-created. So I think he'd even look better in the NBA setting where he has like a high-level playmaker that can get him those easy points from the dunker spot or throw lobs to him.
You like him better than Danny Wolf?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think Danny Wolf is a very unique wild card. And my concern with Wolf is I think he's a phenomenal passer. And for a guy that big, the way he moves is incredible. But he's a high risk, high reward passer. So his main appeal is the playmaking. But if there's a coach that's not going to give him that freedom to make these high risk, high reward passes in tight spaces, I wonder how that works out.
Outside of Cooper Flagg, who was the surest pick? If you say, look, Cooper Flagg put him to the side, who was the guy that you say, you know what, that's the safest, surest thing in this draft going forward here?
Naturally, my mind wants to say Dylan Harper. However, I don't know if the fit in San Antonio gives him the opportunity to really maximize who he is. You figure the Spurs have De'Aaron Fox, so it's easy to forget that he's on the Spurs because he only played a few games after getting hurt after the trade deadline. Then you have Stephon Castle, who was the Rookie of the Year, who really took off when Fox went down. And then Harper's best with the ball in his hands. So I know the NBA is going towards multiple ball handler lineups, but I think in order to maximize what Dylan Harper does, he's going to need to have the keys and more on-ball reps. So while I think he's safe, I don't know if the situation in San Antonio allows him to, like I said, maximize who he is.
Con Knueppel seems pretty safe.
Con Knueppel is safe as a safe can get. I mean, knockdown shooter, very good connective passer. He's tough. I think he can fit on any team and just you can surround him with anybody. And the role that he played at Duke, where he was in a complementary role to Flagg, is similar to the role that he's going to play in the NBA. So it's not like he's going to have the situation of, I was the man, now I'm going to have to scale back and learn how to play with other guys. And I think Knueppel just, like I said, he's safe.
What did he measure at height-wise?
I want to say
6'5", 6'6"?
6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, 6'6".
But, you know, they play in shoes, man. I don't understand the whole thing about
exactly.
About barefoot.
And that's part of safety in the modern NBA. I mean, Con Knueppel is somebody, for example, who's been knocked for his defense, and there's questions about it. And there's people who will also tell you that he is better than, you know, what people are saying about him. But he's 6'6". You know, ultimately, you have to not be trying if you're 6'6" to be the type of defensive weakness that is going to like break an entire system. You know, like if you're drafting a 6'1", 6'2" player, you know, like Reed Shepherd is as much as I still like him, you know, and think he's gonna boom. You know, if you're drafting small players, that's a different thing. As long as you are offensively capable in all the ways that you need to be, plus you have that just inherent height advantage that is going to at least put a decent floor on your defense, or should, as a team defender. You know, like that's, I guess I'm just kind of expounding on, you know, why Con Knueppel came to mind as a, you know, just, you know exactly what you're going to get. Like nobody is going to regret drafting him.
Yeah. Even though like he may not wow you with the athleticism, I think part of defense is just, are you willing to compete, how tough you are? And he checks all of those boxes.
Give me a name that is potentially in the top 10, maybe just outside of the top 10, that you say, you know what, I don't know, maybe he's being a little bit too overrated at this particular point, that could either just find himself just staying in the line, but could maybe find himself, you know, slipping a little bit by the time we get to
Fears.
I'm a big Jeremiah Fears guy.
Okay.
I am too. I'm
I'm a
surprised
big
you said that, because I'm a big Jeremiah Fears fan too.
I'll explain why I'm a big Jeremiah Fears guy. If I'm not mistaken, Oklahoma hadn't made the tournament in like 4 or 5 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He reclassified up. He wasn't the starting point guard at the start of the season, and he took the keys to the offense, like took it. And I'm a big intangibles guy. So for a freshman average 17, 4-4 in the SEC, which was historically tough this year.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of the year, they needed him to carry them to get to the NCAA tournament. And when you have a team with seniors and they're like giving the ball to a freshman and getting out the way, to me that means something.
I only said his name because I'm seeing people like mock him up to 6.
I think it's real.
I
think it's real.
I think that's valid. I think that's a little high. That's a little high for my taste.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I think like, again, with the intangibles, he had some game winners. He has the perfect like marketing thing, number 0, and his fears on the back of his jersey.
Yeah, that's
0
good,
fears. He's quick. I like him a lot. The guy there's a couple guys. And the guy that I'm a little bit concerned about is Kasparas Giacochonis. I like the positional size. I think he's a good passer. He's an excellent rebounder from the guard spot. But my concerns with him are, and this is just maybe like a personal stylistic choice, I really like guards that can get 2 feet in the paint consistently. And for me, he doesn't consistently turn the corner. He does know how to draw fouls by being clever, kind of like in a Grievous Vasquez type of way.
Ooh, love that as a comp.
Yeah, he just doesn't consistently turn the corner. And he had a large amount of turnovers, and he had a rough end to the season. I think he's a guy that may have watched too much Luka Doncic. And when I say that, I'm talking about he's too reliant on the step back. Luka, you know what Luka was going to do, but he was able to get to the rim that the step back was the counter, or maybe getting to the rim was the counter and the step back was the go-to. Either way, it was tough to figure it out. I think Giacochonis became very predictable. You knew that he was going to the step back. Then it led to him having a lot of turnovers. And then towards the end of the year, he had quite a few games where he had more turnovers than field goals made. And to me, for a point guard, you can't turn the corner. You have turnover concerns. I don't know if I can take that in the lottery.
Okay. Well, you can't have more turnovers than field goals in a game for a point guard. It's just, we don't like inefficiency around here.
Yeah. I can talk about Cedric Howard real fast.
Yeah.
I've liked Cedric Howard for quite a while now. I am kind of shocked at this buzz. I'm hearing maybe lottery, late lottery, maybe inside the top 10. I've had him mocked as a first rounder for quite a bit, but 6'5", 7'2" wingspan, great underdog story, left high school with 0 offers. And I mean, in 4 years, you go from 0 offers out of high school to a potential lottery pick. Definitely shows putting in the work and confidence and so on. So I really like guys like that have gotten better every year, that come in with a chip on their shoulders. Also think like those guys are a little bit easier to plug and play because they don't come in entitled. So they come in with the mentality like, I just got to do what I need to do to get on the floor. So I think for him, he would be a great pickup for a team picking at the back end of the lottery. And he can shoot. Yeah. But 7'2" wingspan.
Can't teach that.
Yeah, he can defend all over the floor. So he's a guy that I really like.
Let's take our final break here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. When we come back, we'll get you ready for Game 3 of the NBA Finals, and we finish up with our guest today, Rafael Barlowe, here talking all things NBA draft. Coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. But it's Die Hard time here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. We want you to become part of our family at DLLS Sports, and the best way that you can do that is become a Die Hard member. Go to alldlls.com, click that Die Hard button, become a Die Hard member, and be like Steve, who's watching his first Mavericks podcast as a Die Hard today. He's got his physical Die Hard card as well to show off how he is part of our family here. Plus, you get access to tremendous benefits with us here. 20% off events, our member-only Discord, access to the tremendous work of our guy Tim Cato, writing, of course, for the Dallas Mavericks, or writing about the Dallas Mavericks, I should say. You've got Jeff Wilson covering the Texas Rangers. You've got Sam Nessler, Sean Shapiro covering your Dallas Stars. And, of course, the incomparable Clarence Hill Jr. and Joseph Hoyt covering all things for your Dallas Cowboys, including Tanner on November 15th through the 18th. You can hang out with Joe, Jeff Kavanaugh, Joseph Hoyt. You can hang out with Jesse Holly as well, as they're going to be headed to Las Vegas, Sin City. The DLLS Cowboys podcast is coming to you November 15th through the 18th, culminating with the Monday Night Football game between your Dallas Cowboys and the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. So if you want to be a part of that, become a diehard here with us here at DLLS Sports, and you get access to all of our tremendous benefits. And we got incredible merchandise as well. You saw all of our stuff that we had throughout the course of the Stars' postseason run to the Western Conference Finals. Didn't end the way that we wanted it to, but we've got some tremendous merchandise available. Make sure you go to our All City Network shop as well to get yourself some gear. And when you become a diehard member, you get a free T-shirt with us here as well. So, again, go to alldlls.com, become a diehard member, and join us here on DLLS Sports. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That's the easiest way you can support us as well. Let's finish up here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Again, big thank you to our guests hanging out with us today. Rafael Barlowe, NBA draft expert, consultant, and host of NBA Big Board. Already got folks shouting him out, of course, loving his draft coverage. Has answered a lot of tremendous questions for us as we are just 2 weeks away from the NBA draft. But before that, The NBA Finals resumes tonight as the Indiana Pacers return home to welcome in the Oklahoma City Thunder Game 3 this evening in Indiana. Rafael, what have been your thoughts so far through the first couple of games between the Pacers and the Thunder in the NBA Finals?
The first game was really exciting. I mean, obviously, the Pacers made the comeback win. I just hate that people aren't watching. I really dislike the fact that people aren't tuning in. And they're missing like some really good basketball. Yes, it may not be like the major markets, but I think it's going to be an exciting finals. I'm going for Indiana, maybe because my dad is from Indianapolis.
Okay,
I'm going for the Pacers with the upset.
When it comes to NBA ratings, I've got a maxim. I've got a kind of a credo that I live by, which is I don't care. Yeah. Ratings, okay, that's nice. I don't care. I genuinely could not care less. They just signed the massive TV extension.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the NBA is clearly doing fine.
Yep.
I don't disagree. I mean, I am enjoying these games. So if anybody walks up to me and says I didn't watch the NBA game last night, I said, why don't you love yourself?
But, yeah, because you're missing out on some tremendous hoop.
But tell that to like some of the partners like that.
But they'll be fine.
Are supposed to promote the game, and they're saying, I'm going to the Bahamas. I'm not watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, absolutely, like it does have some small impact, but it's two small market teams. And so, you know, rather than looking at it as like, you know, this is an indictment on the NBA. No, it's just a reality of, I guess, how things work and how those things work and why they work. I don't understand it, and I don't want to, so I don't care.
I mean, yeah, the NBA has a tremendous opportunity to promote some tremendous stars. I mean, obviously, SGA, the league's MVP, Tyrese Halliburton, who's had one hell of a postseason, knocking out all the game winners that you could think of in every single round, you know, so far in this postseason. There's a lot of really, really talented players. A really terrific story of Miles Turner, who spent his entire career so far with the Indiana Pacers, is trying to win a championship with this franchise. So I don't care about the ratings because I think there's too much conversation around the ratings to begin with. But I do want to push back on Rafael a little bit because I'm not going to lie, I'm getting 2001 NBA final vibe from this. With the Thunder and the Pacers. Pacers had a tremendous comeback win. They won. Tyrese Halliburton hits the game winner. But I thought the Thunder, they dominated in a lot of ways in game one. They didn't finish it off in game one. But I think game two was a reminder of how historically good this Thunder team is, that I would not be surprised if they rattle off the next three. And this thing is
2001 Lakers Sixers.
Yeah.
Also the Iverson where he stepped over.
Stepped over Tyler.
Yeah, game one win and then.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I never thought of it from that perspective,
because they shocked the Lakers on the road. Like I thought the Lakers were going to sweep the Sixers in that finals, even with Allen Iverson having been the MVP, I believe, of that season. But Iverson put on a virtuoso performance and shocked the world with the Sixers going into Los Angeles. Then Los Angeles reminded us, there's a reason why we are, you know, on our way to a three-peat and winning three straight NBA championships. So I don't know. I think Oklahoma City is just that good in that.
Charlie Saturday, what do you mean? There are no villains in the series.
Lou
Dort is playing.
Yeah. Lou Dort is definitely playing.
I mean, I think there's an underdog narrative, and I don't know. I mean, was there a villain in the Boston Mavericks, you know, Boston Dallas series? Was there a villain?
The way Windhorst went after Luka, he was the villain.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that underdog narratives come, and I think this one is pretty set up. But I don't know. I am looking forward to tonight's game.
I am looking forward to tonight's game. I'm interested to see how the Pacers respond after that loss in game two. Tyrese Halliburton dealing with a little bit of an ankle issue, but it's said to be good to go for tonight's game. So something to watch for if you're going to be watching game number 3. Speaking of hoop tonight, our guy Rafael rocking the Dallas Wings hat in studio today. Dallas on the road tonight to take on Satu Sabally and the Phoenix Mercury. Just some real quick thoughts on what you've thought of the unfortunate 1-9 start of the Dallas Wings. Now, Paige Beckers is coming back tonight. Has missed the last 4 games due to concussion and an illness, but she's going to be back tonight on the road for Dallas.
Yeah, hopefully they can turn it around. 1-9 start is very tough to come back from, especially with the season being so short. But hopefully they can turn it around.
Who has surprised you so far? As far as have you been able to watch a lot of the W so far?
No. I got too much draft stuff.
Too much draft stuff going on.
What's your Ace Bailey take?
Oh man, scary.
It's scary for the team drafting him or for opponents?
Scary for the league.
Scary for the team drafting him. I like him. I really like the talent. I like what he brings to the table as far as just being a guy that, and when he's on, he's impressive. He had a game where he was like 13 or 15 from the floor against Indiana, I believe. He had another game against Northwestern where he was 13 of 20. But he'll have a game sandwich between those where he was like 2 of 8. So when I look at Ace, I look at a guy that's extremely talented. He's a bucket getter, but I don't know if he's a shooter. Like when you look at the free throw percentage and the three-point percentage, it wasn't bad, but it doesn't scream shooter. He's a guy that if he ends up being one of the 2 best players in this class, it wouldn't shock me. If he kind of struggles to find his way, it wouldn't surprise me either. I heard a comparison that kind of like stuck to my head. And there's a friend of mine that's like, I think he's just Cam Reddish all over again.
Ooh.
And for Ace's sake, I hope that's not the case. But I do think fit is going to be important. And it's cliche to say that, but I think he's a guy that's really going to come down to fit for him to maximize his talent.
Do you agree? In kind of one of my beliefs about him, this is more from reading and understanding what people are saying about him, is that let's say he didn't take a single pull-up 2 all of last season. Let's say he was just being measured based off shooting, his athleticism, his wingspan, his frame, his potential to defend, even if he doesn't necessarily maximize that ability right now. Like, just as a physical player who has, some shooting and offensive skills, like, is he still a lottery pick, a first-round pick? Like, where would you grade him if it wasn't for, like, is he only up there for the shot-making potential? I do feel he has more to his game. I just worry that the shot creation and the very difficult 2-point stuff that we worry isn't going to translate to the NBA. Is that clouding some actual skills that he has?
A little bit, but I think one of the things that makes him so intriguing is he wasn't a 5-star prospect until his senior year of high school. So he's been ascending up. And then, like you said, the size is there. There's a part of me, and I jokingly said this a few months back, there's a part of me that hopes he, like, just totally stops shooting threes and turns his game to, like, Alex English and Rolando Blackman and is really efficient at it, and it just makes the analytics guys just pull their hair out because they're like, wait a minute, this is not what the game is supposed to be about. And we're seeing a little bit of it with SGA. But, yeah, I think that with Bailey, to me, the biggest concern is he just doesn't pass. Like, he does not pass. The assist-to-turnover ratio was so far underwater. And in today's NBA, if you're going to be a go-to scorer type, which he's started off the season being compared to a bunch of go-to scorers. I mean, I saw the T-Mac comparisons, the KD comparisons. I thought those were a little wild. But he's going to have to become a better passer. And in order to be like a go-to scorer in today's NBA, you have to be able to make plays for others.
As we finish up on our show today, give me one thing that's on your radar as we get ready for the NBA offseason that's got your interest piqued, whether it be a transaction that could happen, a trade, a player movement. What's on your radar that's got you interested here?
A sneaky one is what happens with Atlanta. Trae Young can sign a 4-year, $228 million extension. And he said he wants to win now. And depending on what happens on draft night, will he feel like, right, we got better, we can win now? So the question I have is the decision, is it up to him to say, I want to stay or I want out? Or are the Hawks going to say, we're not going to give you the 228. Will you accept less? And then does he say, I want to go somewhere else? So to me, that's like the sneaky like move that I'm waiting to see what happens.
My hot take when it comes to Atlanta, I've said this for years now, Atlanta just bothers my spirit. I feel like they just never have a plan. Like, it just feels like they're just floating in existence when it comes to the Atlanta Hawks. It'd be interested to see what happens with Trae Young. That's very interesting because Capella could be on the move from Atlanta as well. They've got some real decisions to make going forward. This was a lot of fun today. We really appreciate you hanging out with us here on the show. Tell the folks so they can find you and where your work is and what you've got going before the draft starts.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I feel like just 2 years ago we did a podcast. We were at home, and now we're in the studio.
So
I'm all about progression. But you can find me at NBABigBoard.com. That is my newsletter. And Then the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. I have a podcast that I do about 5 days a week. So I'm easy to find.
Doing 5 days a week, just like us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. We really appreciate Rafael for hanging out with us here on the show today. If you missed anything, make sure you check out the podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. Just search DLLS Mavs. Appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Our guys, Mark Stein, will be back with us tomorrow. He's bringing a special guest along with him, so you'll find out who that is tomorrow. Bobby will be back with us on Friday. For Rafael Barlowe, that's our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all enjoy the rest of the day. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.